goodness. I really am surprised. I'm sorry my father isn't here to hear this.
She inherited it from her father, who was an attorney. The Madura Pottery Picasso goat plate is a striking example of Pablo Picasso's innovative work in ceramics. Crafted in southern France by Madura Pottery, this piece dates back to between 1947 and 1971. This plate features a simple yet expressive depiction of a goat, a subject often revisited by Picasso. The raised slip design echoes the handmade pottery aesthetic, adding to its charm. Picasso elevated ordinary ceramics into extraordinary art through techniques like incising, glazing, and painting. This one is bigger and more colorful, with splashes of blue and yellow amidst its figurative design. The goat plate, like Picasso's other ceramics, was produced in limited editions, making it highly collectible. In awe of its artistic mastery, the appraiser valued the item.
$10,000 and $15,000.
My goodness. I really am surprised. I'm sorry my father isn't here to hear this.
This featured art piece is a Chinese export silver punch bowl acquired by the guest at a charity auction due to their fascination with dragons.
Some people from China, they always say that it's one of the more powerful symbols in the zodiac.
Crafted in the 19th century by the Chinese company Wang Hing,
Finished in Canton in 1854, and due to their enormous success, opened up in Hong Kong in the early part of the 20th century.
This masterpiece boasts intricately designed dragons, each separately cast and applied to the raised bowl. Additionally, the bowl showcases a captivating motif with abundant decoration. This stunning work of art, adorned with Chinese motifs and bearing a sterling silver standard mark, would have a price value of
$10,000 to $15,000.
Wow, that's pretty major.
Absolutely amazing.
Not many animators' models have a unique story behind them, but the story behind this Geppetto model is captivating, tracing back to Disney's 1940 full-length cartoon, Pinocchio.
It was done after the book by Carlo Collodi, and this is an animator's model from that particular movie.
It served as a reference for creating Geppetto's character used by legendary animators.
The artists would do, they would use these to remind them of what they wanted to draw, how they wanted it to look. And if you look carefully here, you can see sticking between his feet is Figaro, his cat. It's just a really wonderful, wonderful piece.
Despite some chipping and flaking, the model's condition is remarkable, with its original features, including the intact candlewick flame. Marked with WDP for Walt Disney Productions, this piece is a genuine artifact of animation history, valued at
$6,000 and $9,000. Wow,
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Brought jewelry to the show. The piece is a necklace that was made with Mughal seed pearls and Kundan set emerald. This necklace was made circa 1895 and was manufactured in the Old Indian style, which involved a method of carving into the emerald.
Set the gemstones, and then they hammer in lines of very high carat gold. The stones are seed pearls and rubies.
The stones of the piece are seed pearls and rubies. This antique Indian jewelry is in demand and would fetch a sum of
$4,000 to $6,000. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Glance, this richly decorated enamel egg looks like a Fabergé egg, but on closer inspection, we find out it's not. Although the piece looks like a Fabergé egg, it's something often called Fabergé. One of the hints to show it's a fake is the decorations done on the piece.
Sort of punched work out, each one should be individually chased.
Okay.
And then also on the wreaths, each one of those should be individually hand chased, and these ones have come out of a mold.
On opening the egg, we see that it has split pearls and diamonds in it, which are single-cut diamonds and not rose-cut ones, which are usually in original Fabergé eggs. On the underside of the egg, too, are marks that aim to look original, but show that the piece is an intentional fake. This piece, even though it's not original but a copy, would still fetch a sum of
$3,000 and $4,000.
Okay.
This jewelry set would leave one astonished. The set, comprising a necklace and earrings, was passed down to our guest. The pieces are acid-etched gold and were made circa 1870. The necklace once had a pendant on it, while the chain, although original to the piece, is old woven. The pieces have no markings or signature on them, and as such, we can't tell if they were made in Europe or America, but we can tell that they're Victorian-era jewelry with wireworks done around the earrings.
That around the starburst, and the starburst is a very common element in Victorian jewelry, and then they're again repeating these balls.
This beautiful 10-carat Victorian necklace and earrings are a fine example of 19th century jewelry craftsmanship, and at retail value would be worth
$6,000 and $8,000.
Oh, wow. Nice. Very nice.
Renowned sculptor and painter Eugenie Chouinard. This carved wood sculpture from 1926 captures a rich history, blending artistic mastery with the cultural essence of early 20th century America. Chouinard was a prominent sculptor, having studied under notable artists.
On a pedestal. The artist is really a wonderful artist. She's part of a group of women artists working in the early part of the 20th century.
This sculpture, crafted from walnut, depicts a woman from the Santo Domingo Pueblo, reflecting Chouinard's time in Santa Fe and her connections with local artists.
From the front, but it is three-dimensional and has pretty dramatic drapery on the back. And then this side here is signed Eugenie Chouinard, 1926.
Unlike most of Chouinard's bronze work, this sculpture's carved wood medium adds to its uniqueness and is worth
retail value probably in the $5,000 to $8,000 range.
Nice. Very good.
Sculpture stands as a silent sentinel of history. It was purchased by this guest and her husband in an antique shop in Arizona in 1965. The fascinating item was crafted by Christophe Freton, a noted French sculptor in the animalier style, and one of the earliest French sculptors to portray animals in bronze.
People like these animals, they like this whole subject, especially the violence of these figures in their natural setting.
Dating back to circa 1850, the sculpture is a testament to Freton's craftsmanship, and the technique used to produce it is called sand casting.
Very nicely detailed and beautifully finished with the original patina on it.
The parts of the figurine were cast separately and then assembled together. At the bottom of the item, we can observe how the attachments were made. Upon further inspection, we can discern the maker's signature around the base. At auction, a bronze sculpture of this quality, being one of Freton's works, would be valued at
$10,000 in a
that's
shop.
good to know. That's good to know.
Glance at this print would make one fall in love with the scenery depicted. The print is from a fairly famous painting called The Horse Fair from the 19th century by a female artist named Rosa Bonheur. Bonheur was a French artist who was widely considered to be the most famous female painter of the 19th century. This print came about due to a relationship between Bonheur and a gallery owner.
A relationship with a print publisher and a print gallery owner named Goupil, and he showed a number of her paintings, traveled around, and came to the United States.
And was made through a process called chromolithography. This print is quite incredible because there are rarely many of its size, along with the fact that it's still in the original wood used to hold it. This print, because of its size, rarity, and the beautiful image it depicts, would be auctioned at
About $8,000 to $9,000.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Is a historical cartographic representation of the United States in 1845. Our guest bought this map from its maker, Samuel Augustus Mitchell. Frustrated with the lack of good geographies and atlases in his school, Mitchell entered the cartography business and founded his company during the 1830s and 1840s. This wall map is one of his works. Samuel Mitchell was an American geographer born in Connecticut. This wall map depicts the United States during the 19th century. Although there's a little bit of wear on this piece, it is significant to the history of the development of the United States and is worth
$2,500 to $3,000.
Gee, I better take good care of it then.
Prepare to be enchanted by the allure of a Qing Dynasty dragon robe. The guest's great-aunt and her husband were gifted the piece in China in the early 20th century by Princess Derling. She was the commandery princess of the Qing dynasty who was known for her writings, including several memoirs, books, and magazine articles. This piece is an informal court robe adorned with 3 dragons on the front and 5 depicted on the back. Additionally, there is a secret dragon hidden inside the flap of the robe. It is in remarkably good condition even after more than a century of its creation. This robe attests to the rich cultural heritage of the Chinese, valued at auction to be
$15,000 to $25,000 at auction.
Gosh. Oh, gee, I better take good care of it then.
Well, I'm happy I brought it today.
This item belonged to the owner's father, who would have turned 100 this year. The card has a portrait of famous baseball player Babe Ruth and was among the guest's grandmother's keepsakes, later passed down within the family. It is a membership card for the Babe Ruth Home Run Candy Club from the 1920s. It was obtained by sending a written letter accompanied by the membership card. The card features Babe Ruth's tips on the back. Another tip emphasizes teamwork over individual glory. Due to its rarity among Babe Ruth collectibles, only 3 others were known to exist prior to today, making it the 4th known specimen. It originally came with a letter and mailing envelope, both extremely scarce.
Way of knowing how many of these went out. Okay. There are no records, but that's the thing with ephemera is not many people kept these things.
Condition is deemed very good despite a slight crease. At auction, it could fetch
between $1,500 and $2,000.
Wow. Well, I'm happy I brought it today.
Brought in 2 letters and photos featuring Rocky Marciano, the renowned American professional boxer. Recounting their warm relationship, the guest shared their first meeting with Marciano in 1954.
I met him first in 1954 when he came to California to train for a fight. He trained at Lake Arrowhead, California, and I was teaching in San Bernardino, which is not far from there.
The photos were captured at Lake Arrowhead, a spot where Marciano frequently invited the guest and her boyfriend. Upon examination, the appraiser highlighted the signature on the back of the photos. The letters, dating back to 1955, revealed Marciano's affection for his family and his anticipation of their visit during his training. Additionally, they delved into Marciano's boxing career, his remarkable record, and his significance as an inspiration for the Rocky film series. Considering the scarcity of Marciano's handwritten material, the suggested value was
$5,000. Well, I don't plan to part with them.
Of history that evokes a timeless essence. This yearbook from the class of 1943 at Eastside High School in New Jersey. It was brought onto the show by a guest who was a classmate of a notable figure featured in the yearbook.
Had you had the yearbook out?
The yearbook has been in a closet for maybe 70 years now, 72 years.
The notable figure is the well-known Allen Ginsberg, an American poet and writer best known for his poem, The Poem. In the book, we can see Ginsberg's senior portrait and his signature. There's also an interesting poem written to the guest by Ginsberg, visible at the back of the book. As a signed yearbook with a personal connection to such an exceptional figure, it would fetch a high auction value.
$10,000.
Well, maybe it's not going back in the closet. I don't know.
A miniature desk inherited from her mother, an avid antique collector. The appraiser examined the desk's features, such as chased brass hardware held with cotter pins, indicating early craftsmanship. The desk depicted an older look with a handmade lock, rosehead nails, and hand-planed wood. This wonderful piece suggests an 18th century origin, likely made in Boston around 1750. The desk, constructed of walnut with white pine secondary wood, was likely crafted for a child's use. Given the desk's beauty and historical value, its potential worth would be
$5,000 to $7,000 for this piece.
That's terrific. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece.
Our guest acquired this piece from a chiropractor in Denver named Dr. Niblack. Dr. Niblack was a renowned American artist known for his craftsmanship that reflects the spirit of Western America. He collaborated with Disney Productions on animation projects and created dioramas with motorized figures that were exhibited by the Smithsonian Institution. In addition to hundreds of his figural carvings, he also designed his own version of Western furniture, of which this piece is an excellent example, and in this excellent condition, this piece would sell for at least
Be 3,000 to 5,000 or thereabouts. So about what you paid for it.
Right.
the world at your feet embodied in this terrestrial floor globe, a captivating centerpiece that allows you to explore it firsthand. This guest recounts the tale of how her grandmother came to possess this piece.
Furniture, when they were done, they'd ship it all home. So I've got a collection of stuff from all over the world.
On the globe's surface, an inscription reveals the company responsible for its creation, Newton and Son Company.
Newton's made globes in all sizes, from little tiny pocket globes that lived in a case to mantle globes, tabletop globes, bookshelf globes, and ultimately this monumental floor globe.
Additionally, the location and date of manufacture, 1844, are clearly visible. Interestingly, the stand supporting the globe is much older, dating back to circa 1810. Upon the globe's surface, one can observe meticulously drawn maps of the world. Due to its age, the varnish covering the paper-mounted globe has oxidized. This globe stands as a testament to the craftsmanship and ingenuity of a bygone era. At auction, its estimated worth is
the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
Really? Oh my God, I got a bargain. One of my Roadshow bargains. That's great.
The guest presented a Chinese polychrome item, uncertain of its function. While initially referred to as a pillow, it was actually identified as an armrest. The appraiser mentioned that it was used in northern Chinese homes on a platform called a kang. Made of porcelain, which has a cooling effect, the armrest was particularly used in summer. The item was decorated with various designs, including Taoist immortals and auspicious scenes meant to be visually engaging. The piece from the late 19th century featured lively decorations reflecting post-Civil War China. Additionally, it featured cash coin motifs for both decoration and structural integrity during firing. Originally valued at $1,500, the estimated auction value was
of $5,000 to $7,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got a bargain. One of my Roadshow bargains. That's great.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's amazing.
Books are often termed windows to the soul, and today's books acquired by this guest at a yard sale are quite wonderful. They are books signed and inscribed by Langston Hughes. Hughes was an American poet, novelist, and playwright who was best known as a leader of the Harlem Renaissance. The first book, simply signed by Hughes, was published in 1940 and is a first edition of The Big C, while the second book, published in 1953, Simple Takes a Wife, is signed and inscribed by Hughes.
These simple tales for Gene Howard. Sincerely, Simple, not Howard, but Shaw. Langston Hughes.
The most famous of these books is the third piece, published in 1956, and it is signed and inscribed by Hughes.
It's a signed first edition in a dust jacket, especially for Gene Shaw, My Second Life.
Collectively, these one signed and two inscribed pieces from one of the most important American writers of the 20th century at retail value would be worth
$8,000 to $10,000.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's...
Sewing box carved by the guest's great-uncle Frederick Kiefer was showcased. The item had won the award for Best Carved Work at the New York Exposition in 1865. Crafted from 3 pieces of holly wood, it bore a plaque attributing the carving to Kiefer and dated 1861. The guest also brought a medal awarded to Kiefer and bore an inscription with his name.
I was able to do some research on him, and based upon New York State Assembly documents, he received a diploma award for a spectacular wood carving specimen, and that was printed in 1864.
The appraiser described the basket as a spectacular example of Kiefer's work. The lovely piece bore resemblance to Black Forest carving, indicating the artist's German descent. Additionally, the piece exhibited wonderfully carved birds over a nest with eggs, surrounded by a beautiful floral bouquet. Inside, the basket revealed removable paper-lined tiers, showcasing its functionality as a sewing box. The piece preserved its original color as it was kept under a glass dome. The exceptional piece was estimated to be valued at
$15,000 and $20,000.
Campaign of one of the great presidents of the United States, Richard Milhous Nixon, women wore this dress to support him. This guest bought it at a thrift shop 25 years ago.
Thrift shop about 25 years ago for $10, and it just had a little tag on it that said Nixon dress.
Nixon, who served as the 37th President of the United States, was known for ending American involvement in Vietnam combat in 1973 and concluding the anti-ballistic missile treaty with the Soviet Union. In his effort to obtain votes from the female population, Nixon had this clothing made for women to promote his campaign. This dress is a testament to his support for women's rights and holds great significance to U.S. history, putting its estimated value at
$400 and $600. So you did great. Nice, yeah.
By the guest from his mother, this oil painting on masonite holds a unique history.
I bought a painting which I inherited about 30 years ago, and it has remained in our family. I think it's been in since about 1955, maybe.
It was sold by the artist himself, Bernard Goss, an American artist renowned for his contributions to the Chicago art scene. Notably, Goss was married to Margaret Burroughs, a highly influential artist who founded the Southside Community Art Center. The guest's mother's affiliation with the Southside Community Center likely provided her with insights into Goss's work. This painting, dating back to the seminal years of the civil rights movement in 1954, holds particular significance. Titled Counterpoint, it depicts an African-American woman playing a piano while a white woman danced behind her. This extraordinary piece serves as a poignant portrayal of desegregation and the fervent pursuit of equality during that era, and has an estimated value of
$25,000. It depends what kind of appraisal you get.
Tall cabinet, purchased by the guest's great-great-grandparents in 1828 in Lancaster, has been in the family for generations and now resides in the guest's living room. Standing at 9 feet tall, it barely fits in the guest room with only about an inch to spare to the ceiling.
I think there's like an inch to spare. It's a little tricky getting it into the house.
Originally, the cabinet had a pediment on top, which has been lost over the years, likely due to its size, and
the great thing about this, and maybe the thing that limits it somewhat, is the fact that it is so tall.
Yeah.
But the fact that it is so tall gives it a lot of presence.
The cabinet features impressive architectural details, such as an arched top, keystone automation, and intricate moldings, all contributing to its visual appeal. Made of curly maple, also known as tiger maple, the cabinet has undergone some refinishing or rubbing down over the years, which has affected its original finish and varnish, giving it a slightly different appearance than when it was first made. The cabinet incorporates yellow pine secondary wood, a common feature in furniture from the 1830s to 1840s. Despite some alterations and wear over time, the cabinet is estimated at a retail or insurance value of
I would put $9,500 on this.
Okay.
You can live with that?
I can.
This artwork, gifted to the guest by the artist Forrest Bess in 1962, is a rare and fascinating piece with a rich history. Forrest Bess was born in 1911 in Bay City, Texas, and was a self-taught modernist artist known for painting his dreams. He was discovered by gallery owner Betty Parsons in the late 1940s, who
She represented Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko.
Bess lived an unconventional life, working for the Corps of Engineers during World War II and
then after the war, he was called back to be in charge of his family's bait company in the late 40s, probably.
He built his home and studio out of driftwood found along the beach, and the frame of this artwork is also made from driftwood. Bess painted his dreams, often taking naps during the day and translating his dreams onto canvas. This particular artwork, labeled as Number 30 by Betty Parsons, was likely titled by her and exhibited in her gallery with the price of $150. Modernist works like these are highly sought after, and if sold in a specialized gallery, this piece could fetch a price in the range of
$75,000.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Guest brought in a fascinating collection of Edward Gorey memorabilia, demonstrating the artist's penchant for the macabre and his darkly humorous wit. Particularly enticing are these two dolls, Big Bash, a handcrafted Gorey doll, and Bah Humbug, which came with a signed and numbered book. Gorey dolls had become increasingly scarce and valuable since the artist's passing, making them prized possessions for collectors. Another intriguing item is the deck of tarot cards featuring Gorey's signature artwork. The guest revealed that they had purchased it for $50 when it was first issued, highlighting the potential for investment appreciation in Gorey's work. The collection wasn't limited to dolls and tarot cards. It also encompassed books, posters, and a pop-up book, all signed by Gorey himself or one of his numerous aliases like Ogdred Wary and Dozier Wired. The Green Beads is one of Gorey's earliest books, and the Headless Bust with the Bah Humbug doll as notable pieces within the collection. The guests disclosed that they had acquired most of the items at their original retail price when they were first released. This fact underscored the shrewdness of their collecting strategy, estimated to have a retail value of
For your entire collection would be $5,000 plus.
Oh my God.
Guest brought in a collection of vases decorated by her grandmother, who worked for the Sunday Evening Girls, SEG, at the Paul Revere Pottery. The SEG was a unique workplace that provided education, cultural enrichment, and better working conditions for young immigrant women. SEG initially focused on educational and social activities for immigrant women, but later became known for its pottery. While the guest's grandmother primarily worked as a bookkeeper for the SEG, there was a possibility that she had decorated some of the vases. The collection included two vases. The vase with a black glaze, estimated to be from 1925 to 1930, had the SEG markings and were typical of Paul Revere's pottery style. It is valued each at
estimate this piece for between $5,000 and $7,000.
The second vase has a green and black glaze and depicted a scene more akin to European styles. It is believed that this vase is a pre-existing piece not made by SEG, but possibly decorated by them later. It was hand-thrown and has a unique iridescent finish, making it even more valuable. The vase showcased the SEG's adaptation to changing market trends, and even though known for their landscape designs, incorporated European styles to stay relevant. The estimated value at auction is
I would have to say the same, $5,000 to $7,000. It's not what people look for.
Guest inherited a valuable Civil War-era cornet, passed down from his great-great-great-grandfather, George Warren, who led the band in the 15th Regiment of Indiana. The cornet was identified as an 1861 E.G. Wright rotary valve cornet made of the rare pure silver and considered to be in exceptional condition. There are various unique features about this cornet. It has large bore, which meant that the cornet had a fatter body than usual cornets of the time. The string rotary valves were actuated by levers and were a distinctive design feature. The engraving displayed the maker's name, E.G. Wright, and added to the overall value of the instrument. It also came with its original mouthpiece, carved wood case, felt lining, and even the price list from E.G. Wright. The cornet is considered to be a presentation-grade item due to the use of pure silver and its exceptional quality. Furthermore, the maker, E.G. Wright, is the foremost brass wind instrument maker in the United States during that period. The estimated retail value of this piece is
At about $35,000.
Yeah, that would surprise me.
Guest brought in a fascinating photo album compiled by her father during his service with the British Army in China between 1907 and 1909. The item is identified as an album itself that is Japanese-made. The album offered a unique glimpse into a period in Chinese history, marked by the reign of the Qingzhou Emperor under the manipulation of the Dowager Empress Cixi, and the Boxer Rebellion, an uprising against Western influence. The album contained a captivating collection of photographs, including a portrait of the guest's father. It also contains a photo of the Dowager Empress Cixi, images of various troops stationed in China, including the Cameron Highlanders, the guest's father's regiment, and a candid shot of the funeral procession of the Guangzhou Emperor. The significance of the candid photographs captured by the guest's father, as they provided a first-hand perspective on historical events, is unimaginable. The album's value is further enhanced by its comprehensive scope, personal connection to the guest's family, and the inclusion of rare photographs. The guest initially estimated the album's value to be around $5,000. However, the appraised value at auction is,
I would say more likely $10,000 to $15,000 would be an auction estimate for this.
Good. Yeah.
In a clock that had been in her husband's family for decades. It was originally given to her mother-in-law by a neighbor in the 1930s and passed down to her husband about 15 years ago. The key to wind the mechanism wore out, and it had since become a decorative piece. The clock was a rare beehive clock with a mahogany veneer case, representing a significant transition in clockmaking technology. It featured one of the first commercially produced coil springs in America, made by E.C. Brewster in Bristol, Connecticut, around 1834 to 1838. This clock was one of fewer than 50 known examples and was in outstanding condition, making it highly valuable. This extraordinary timepiece, with its rich history and pioneering spirit, was appraised at
This clock, in an auction setting, would easily sell in the $3,000 to $3,500 price category.
Missionary rug, cherished in the family for about 70 years, has a rich history rooted in the missionary work of Dr. Wilfred Grenfell in Newfoundland. Dr. Grenfell introduced the idea of weaving these finely crafted rugs to help the impoverished locals generate income.
But he came up with the idea to use designs like that depicted what was going on in their villages.
Their life.
This particular rug features intricate designs including ships, a compass, a house, and
got a couple of native figures, and as they went along progressing with the production of these,
the rugs were made using kits provided to villagers, and the white fabric in this rug is believed to have been made from donated stockings, as fabric scraps were scarce. These rugs were sold for about $4 to $8 in the 1930s, and this pattern is considered desirable due to its detailed design. Comparable rugs have been sold at auction for as much as,
and there have been others that have sold at auction for as much as $4,000, so that kind of gives you a range.
Okay, wow.
Futon desk, dating back to the late 1880s, is a prized family heirloom with a rich history. Manufactured in Indianapolis and patented by William Wooton, this desk gained fame at the 1876 Centennial Exhibition, often owned by titans of industry. This particular desk, known as the ordinary version, is actually quite rare due to its diminutive size.
And what makes this special is its diminutive size. This measures 36 inches wide, and it was referred to as a ladies.
Despite its simpler design compared to other versions, its rarity adds to its value. The desk features a patented mark by Wooton, indicating its authenticity, and boasts innovative design features like numerous compartments for organizing paperwork.
And tidy for everybody, and this was the way that Wooton designed this, and that's what gained him fame.
A notable feature is its secret compartment, adding a touch of mystery and intrigue to the piece. Made primarily of walnut with a burl walnut panel, at auction, this desk is estimated to be worth.
Try to generate interest with a $4,000 to $6,000 estimate, but really it'd be the market that would tell us what it's ultimately worth, because one hasn't sold in a long time.
Impressive collection of New York Mets memorabilia dates back to the 1960s, the very birth of the team. Acquired from a yard sale, the collection includes items obtained from the seller's aunt, who worked for the Mets. Among the treasures is a rare Lady Met bobblehead, a souvenir from the 1960s known for its scarcity. Also included is an early Mr. Met bobblehead, predating many others, along with a 1964 Shea Stadium dedication ashtray, highlighting a pivotal moment in Mets history. A signed baseball from the era, likely from 1963 or 1964, adds to the value and authenticity of the collection. Additionally, a pin from a hot dog vendor provides a unique glimpse into the fan experience at the time. The entire collection is estimated to be worth
Just what's on the table here, I'd insure it for $2,500.
Wow.
The guest brought a family heirloom clock he inherited from his mother. The clock was identified as a high-quality key-wind watch made by Swiss maker Beauvais in the early 1800s. The clock featured gold, enamel, and pearls with a superior quality mechanism and a duplex escapement. The polished steel mechanism had bluing on the interior steel parts. The clock was made for the sophisticated Chinese market and features fine enamel work with floral scenes. Beauvais hired the world's best enamelists to create these pieces, which are now highly sought after. This deeply impressive and rare timepiece was valued at
auction, I would conservatively estimate the watch at $20,000 to $30,000. And I would fully expect it to bring the higher amount.
That's amazing.
So much to say about furniture, and the same can be said about this table inherited by our guest and presented before us today on the show. This piece is a games table popular in the 18th century. With features typical of game tables, this piece was made with mahogany as the primary wood and other quality woods used as a secondary wood.
And this is where it gets sort of fun. You see these back rails?
Yes.
Those are made of American oak.
Also etched on this table is a number that indicates it was originally a pair. A table like this, in absolutely good condition and still with its original finish, would be auctioned at
I would say at auction, this would be in the range of $6,000 to about $9,000.
Oh, very good.
Humans are always in awe when they see a thing of beauty, and that's exactly the case with today's piece. Acquired by our guest, this piece is a sculpture of the Piazza del Duomo. The Piazza del Duomo, or Cathedral Square, is a famous landmark in Florence, Italy.
This Piazza del Duomo is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Quite unique about this piece is that it's made of two different materials. The bottom of the sculpture is made of marble, while the top is made of alabaster.
Making all kinds of sculptures out of alabaster. It's a relatively soft stone and easy to carve. You could also get amazing detail.
Although the piece isn't credited, it was probably made circa 1890 and is a very rare, accurate depiction of the Piazza del Duomo. A piece of this size, still in good condition, that accurately depicts a UNESCO World Heritage Site would be auctioned at
A retail price would probably be in the $5,000 range. So I think you got a pretty good buy on it.
Well, thank you.
Tartan that went to the moon refers to a unique piece of Scottish heritage linked to the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. This special tartan was carried to the moon by an astronaut, Alan Bean, who was the lunar module pilot for Apollo 12 and the fourth person to walk on the moon.
And these two photographs on the top are photographs that he actually took whilst on the moon, is that correct?
Yeah.
He brought a small swatch of the tartan with him on this historic mission. The tartan was a symbol of the strong Scottish connection to NASA. Today, this tartan serves as a reminder of Scotland's role in space exploration and the historic journey to the moon, and is worth
A bit surprised if this were to come up for sale, it would sell for somewhere in the region of £10,000 to £15,000.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it. I'm so delighted to have seen it. Thank you, and actually touched something that's been to the moon.
These are always a sight to behold. The same can be said about this painting by Max Arthur Cohn. Cohn was an English-born American artist, often called the pioneer of screen printing. This piece is an oil painting done on canvas and carries Cohn's signature.
Came to New York at the age of 2, and he really is best known for his WPA New York scenes.
Even though this painting isn't dated, its time of craftsmanship can be roughly dated to before Cohn did a serigraph of it.
He made a printed image, a serigraph, of this in 1938.
Although Cohn is more famous for his print screening, a piece of this quality from before he fully transitioned to screen printing would be valued at
I would estimate the insurance value to be $10,000.
Great.
Sensor, linked to Kuniharu, shows amazing skill in how it's made, with lots of attention to detail and a great sense of how it looks. Several years ago, an individual attended an auction at a local church in their town. During the auction, they spotted a piece they decided to bid on, setting a limit for themselves. Surprisingly, they won the bid for a deer sculpture. The appraiser provided background information on the Japanese market, noting its softness compared to other Asian art categories, but highlighted exceptions for extraordinary works by renowned artists. The object in question was identified as a censer, used for ritualistic purposes to emit aromatic smoke. The appraiser attributed the piece to Kuniharu, a master bronzesmith of the Meihei period. Despite the soft market, the association with such a master could fetch significant interest in prices. Additionally, the piece was said to have been returned from the Boston Art Museum in the early 20th century, potentially adding to its value. While estimating the value of the beautiful piece, the appraiser says,
I think an appropriate auction value in 2016 would be $10,000 to $15,000.
Okay.
So you did tremendously well at auction.
Wow. Never, ever expected.
Whatever it was that drew you to this piece, your instincts were absolutely correct. It's a masterpiece of its type.
Wow. Thank you.
Great Depression, the guest's great-grandfather acquired this magnificent mandolin from a neighbor. It's a Gibson F5 mandolin featuring the iconic fern inlay design crafted by Lloyd Loar himself. Lloyd Loar, an acoustic engineer and renowned mandolin virtuoso at Gibson, revolutionized the instrument in the 1920s with innovations such as parallel tone bars and an elevated fingerboard. It boasts 2 F-holes, a centrally positioned bridge, and internally tuned plates, reminiscent of a violin. Loar's groundbreaking innovations established the benchmark for modern mandolins. Inside, we find a Gibson label with a serial number and a master model label, confirming its top-grade status since 1922.
If I had to grade it in Gibson mandolins, Lloyd Loar mandolins, I'd probably put it at the top 10% of the ones I've seen.
During the Great Depression, the guest's great-grandfather purchased it for $20, though its value at the time was estimated to be around $600. Today, it could fetch.
These days, a correct asking price through a dealer in a shop would be about $175,000.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Present value of this mandolin is $125,000. The furniture about 20 years ago at an antique show in Tulsa for around $2,000.
Gentleman told me it was a John Jelliff, but I have no way of knowing if that was true or not.
The appraiser then asked if the piece had been reupholstered, to which the guest replied that they had bought it as is and loved it. The appraiser explained that John Jelliff was known for his high-quality furniture, often featured classic busts and medallions. However, Jelliff retired in 1860, and while his company continued, it was not under his direct leadership. Was in rosewood, he did work with walnut, the material of the guest's piece. The overall quality and design of the carving seemed more factory-generated and less crisp than Jelliff's work, suggesting it might be from a Midwest manufacturer, possibly from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Carving is a little bit more factory-generated. The arms, while they have this tassel, which is symbolic of Jelliff, the crispness overall isn't quite Jelliff.
The appraiser informed the guest that the current market has changed, and people are not collecting such furniture with the same enthusiasm. Even if it were confirmed as a Jelliff piece, its market value would only be around.
You're probably looking at $600 to $800.
That's okay. I still love it.
Good.
That's all right.
Folk art piece that had been acquired at an auction for $100. The item was identified as a whirligig made by an unskilled artist. The piece was believed to have been carved as a gift or presentation, potentially by someone returning from service. Whirligigs typically had moving arms and were placed on fence posts to spin in the wind. This particular piece featured original paint and decorative elements like buttons. Additionally, it had a removable hat with a badge on top, likely representing a police officer. The item showed signs of outdoor exposure, with damage on the foot and hat. The appraiser highlighted that, with folk art, damage can actually add character and increase appeal for collectors. Estimated to date back to the 1880s or 1890s, the suggested value was...
We all think that he's probably, in the condition he's in, is worth between $1,200 and $1,500.
Family heirloom included a chair that belonged to his great-grandmother. Upon examining the chair, the appraiser noted the inscription, "Consider Tiffany, A.D. 1761." However, after thorough research, he couldn't find any evidence of cabinet makers named Tiffany. Despite the unknown maker, the chair was identified as a William and Mary armchair from around 1720, likely crafted in southeast Connecticut. The appraiser suggested that it was probably made by a wood turner, given its predominantly turned components.
It's what we would call a turner's chair. By that I mean the primary skill was a wood turner. In fact, there's only 4 pieces that were not turned: the arms, the crest rail, and the stay rail.
Initially plain, the chair underwent modifications in the 19th century to enhance its appearance. Carving details were added to give it a more ornate look, alongside metal reinforcements and adjustments for comfort. However, these alterations diminished the chair's market value and historical integrity. Given these considerations, the appraiser estimated its value to be,
It's probably about $2,000, maybe $2,500.
Guest inherited a banjo from their uncle, who had been part of a musical group with their father and aunt. It was identified as a Fairbanks White Lady No. 7 banjo, renowned for its high-grade quality. The banjo had a stunning bump case, characteristic of banjo making around 1910. The appraiser highlighted the item's unique White Lady tone ring, a significant innovation introduced around 1902 for superior sound quality. Made in 1908 or 1909 by the premier banjo company Fairbanks in Boston, it represented its distinctive tone and craftsmanship. The banjo boasted remarkable features, including an exquisitely carved heel, intricately engraved inlays, and tortoiseshell cord celluloid material. Notably, it also sported a presentation plate, suggesting it was custom-made for Mrs. Edward L. Hitchcock. Additionally, its stunning engraved inlays showcased intricate designs like griffin motifs. The banjo's pristine condition and exceptional craftsmanship gave it significant value.
This is probably worth about at least $8,000.
Wow.
And an enthusiast might pay a bit more.
Wow.
It could reach as high as $10,000 in the right situation.
Wow.
Lamp has illuminated guests' family history for generations. Fruits, berries, and leaves are made of colorful glass and are beautifully arranged in a vase.
And look at this, if the top doesn't lift right off, so we can look at the top of it.
Colors are a clue to its maker. Czechoslovakian glass factories were famous for their vibrant hues. This lamp features reds, ambers, and several shades of green. Each piece is free-blown, partly molded, and attached to a metal framework. Beading adds extra dimension when the lamp is lit. Glass resembles a basket with no markings on the bottom. There's an indentation for the wire to come through. It is likely from the 1920s, and Czechoslovakian glass from this period has become very collectible. This piece could fetch up to...
Now, I think $1,000 is not really too much to expect for a piece like this.
Updated value of it is $600 to $900. Violin was showcased at the show by a guest. The showcased violin was identified as a high-quality French instrument crafted by Amédée Dieudonné. He was a respected French luthier, known for his craftsmanship and influence on the violin-making tradition. His instruments were highly prized for their quality and were sought after by both musicians and collectors. The violin exhibited exquisite craftsmanship featuring delicate edges. Each Dieudonné instrument possessed a unique personality, characterized by its playful yet clean sound. Dating back to the mid-1920s, the violin was appraised with a retail value of...
And I would give it a retail value of between $9,000 and $10,000.
No!
Carlson painting was given to the guest by his grandmother. It was drawn by the famed John Fabian Carlson. This painting is a perfect depiction of nature in its magnificence. John was known to be a painter who liked to explore the locales of New York and Virginia, and this is probably where he got his inspiration from. John was also trained in the Woodstock School of Art, which is likely how he came on to become an expert painter. At an auction, this exquisite nature painting would auction at...
I would say for insurance value about $60,000.
Oh my gosh, it's more than I would have guessed.
found it at an estate sale in Newark, rescuing it from certain disposal. He is James L. Kennedy, a fire captain in Company No. 1 in Newark, New Jersey. They took photos showing 30% to 40% of the paint was gone when they received it. From behind, holes revealed the gentleman's identity, the artist's name, and the date, 1852. J.W. John Frederick Herring was a prominent 19th century English painter renowned for his sporting and equestrian art. His works are prized for their historical and artistic significance, reflecting the Victoria-era passion for equestrian pursuits. The initials at the bottom of the emblem on his hat correspond to those of Mr. J. L. Kennedy. His paintings portray scenes with naturalistic colors. In awe of its mastery, the appraiser valued the J.W. Herring painting.
From a value of nothing, I would estimate today that if you put this up for public auction, we'd be talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 to $6,000.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my.
The pieces are from one of the topmost magazines of the 20th century. They are artworks given to our guest by his father, who was the art director of Mad Magazine from 1956 to 1980. Mad Magazine is an American humor magazine first published in 1952. Among the pieces is a quite famous cover.
The going away present?
No, I think you acquired this at another time. This wasn't the actual one that made it on the cover.
Along with other fine pieces from some of the top illustrators of Mad Magazine. Each and every one of these pieces is signed by the artist who illustrated them. This collection of artworks from some of the top illustrators of one of the most important magazines of the 20th century would go for
ordinary opening figure. Like if this was to go to an auction, your reserve, that is the price below which you would not sell it, would be in the $20,000 range.
Okay, wow.
Because it's a fabulous collection of art.
Brought in a fascinating heirloom clock, a wedding gift thought to be for their great-great-great-grandfather. The clock is a product of C&N Jerome, brothers who were renowned clockmakers during the early 19th century. This item is dated to 1835, and its design is representative of the popular Greek Revival style of the period. You can also see the original reverse painting adorning the lower part of the clock, emphasizing the importance of preserving such original features. While the clock's condition showed some wear, the estimated replacement value is
bring about $3,500, something in that range.
A silk tapestry that seemed to shift between day and night as the light changes? This guest brought in what they believed was a 400-year-old tapestry from Beijing, China, purchased by their aunt in 1934. They were curious if the scene depicted night or day, since the light created a moonlit appearance. The appraiser explained that the tapestry's monochromatic appearance made it difficult to discern the scene. Originally, the silk threads were dyed in bright colors, but these dyes faded over time and exposure to sunlight. The piece featured a small orb, likely the moon, with a river view and a rustic hut amidst a bamboo grove below. The appraiser clarified it wasn't a tapestry, but rather an embroidery, with threads sewn onto a silk backing. Although bought in China, it was of Japanese origin, popular in Japan during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The piece was estimated to be from around 1900 to 1920, as the expansive landscape view became prevalent in Japan only in the 20th century. Despite some damage, the appraiser advised against any restoration, noting it was in acceptable condition. The piece was valued by the appraiser as follows.
I would say if we sold this at auction, it would make somewhere in the order of about $1,500 to $2,500, maybe $2,000 to $3,000.
Well, that's great.
It could be worth as much as $6,000 to $8,000 if it were in pristine condition with vibrant colors. Guest bought this piece from his friend who was retiring.
Fellow worked with me. He was 74 years old and he was retiring. His mother-in-law had died and his wife had died, and he had 2 houses to clean out. I'm a train collector, and he wanted to know if I wanted to buy one of the trains.
Along with some train sets, he got them all for $200. This is a complete Ferris wheel set made by a company named Dahl. Based in Germany, Dahl produced many wonderful items, including this Ferris wheel, which was designed to be run as an accessory to a steam engine. Presented in mint condition, this piece has everything intact, with all the figures and mechanisms dating back to 1904. A rare and unique steam-powered Ferris wheel in such condition will sell at auction for...
At an auction, I think it would probably sell in the range of $8,000 to $12,000.
Unexpected gift. This tile panel was found hanging over the fireplace of the newly purchased house of this guest. It has caster wheels attached to it, making it mobile. By the American Encaustic Tile Company of Zanesville, Ohio, this panel is particularly unique because of its overall large size and size of individual tiles.
Usually, if you have a large panel made up of tiles, they're all 6 inches, almost all the time.
6-inch square.
6-inch square.
Yeah.
Another unique property of this tile panel is the style of the painting used. Most panels are usually decorated in a Victorian American encaustic style. This, however, is painted in the Delft style.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Delft. It's a city in Holland. They've been producing pots and tiles, and mostly tin glazed in blue and white, just like this.
This is America's encaustic version of the famous Delft tiles. The company's mark is seen on the back of this detachable tile, and this lovely work of art is valued at about...
I would value this at somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000.
Not bad.
Jolly Toby Jug makes his way to the show. This guest brings this Toby jug, which has been in her family for over 200 years. Toby jugs, also known as Toby mugs, are famous pottery jugs modeled as a seated figure or head of a recognizable person. These jugs were originally made in England in the 18th century. This particular jug is believed to be an early piece dating to around the 1800s.
First of all, I can feel it's very lightweight, and that's typical of the early one. It doesn't happen after the first period, because it's made of something called pearl glazed earthenware, which is very thinly potted.
The use of this pearl glazed earthenware was stopped around the 1830s. Also, the characteristic bluish tint of pearl glazed earthenware is present.
And wherever the glaze collects, which it's done around the eyes and in the furrows of the brow here and in the mouth, you can see in the thicker part of the glaze it's bluish.
These tints are absent in later productions in the late 19th and 20th centuries. These features indicate that this is an early Toby jug. It is in pristine condition for a piece this old, and it is valued at about...
This woman got to watch as the United States President was getting his portrait painted. She was a cousin to the personal maid of Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady of the United States. The woman came to the show with the First Lady's personal possessions, including pictures and letters.
But a conservative auction estimate for the entire archive would be around $8,000 to $12,000.
Oh my,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Passed down to her by her dad 27 years ago, this billboard artwork is an original oil painting. This piece was painted by an American impressionist, Philip Lyford. Lyford was an artist born in 1887 and was very famous for Flanders Field. The artist's works have gone up for sale at a public auction 15 times, mostly in the painting category. This piece was painted as a billboard to go on top of a building. It features a man holding Narragansett beer, which was the first beer brewed by the Original Six back in 1890.
This billboard actually was on display here on top of one of the local buildings.
There's a lot of people collecting original artwork for advertising and illustration now. Yet, the real question is how much would this rare artwork sell for at auction?
This piece of $800 to $1,000.
Wow. Great. That's terrific. That's great.
Tapestries are not just ordinary pieces of fabric. They hold stories, secrets, and sometimes surprising value. The guest found an old tapestry in their aunt's attic back in 1973. They didn't think much of it at the time and just tucked it away in their bedroom closet. Years later, they started going through some old stuff they found with the tapestry and realized it might be valuable. It turned out that the tapestry was bought in 1922 from a factory in Germany for $140. The design on the tapestry was based on a famous painting by John van Eyck, a well-known artist from the 15th century. This painting is found in a church in Flanders. But there were small differences in the colors and the way it was made, suggesting that it was made more recently than traditional tapestries from the time. While examining the tapestry, the appraiser said,
I would value this at about $8,000 on the retail level.
I can't believe that. That's fantastic.
Van Erp lamp from 1910. It's a timeless piece that holds a fascinating story within its copper frame.
Years ago, I did some horse trading and traded a wrought iron coffee table for it.
You traded the table and you got a lamp.
Yes.
It was crafted by the skilled hands of Dirk Van Erp, a Dutch-born artisan who immigrated to the United States in the late 19th century. Dirk was renowned for his mastery of copper craftsmanship. This is a great example of hammered copper, and this is called isinglass, so mica shade. This design was inspired by the arts and crafts movement, simplicity, craftsmanship, and a connection to nature. What makes it truly special is the meticulous attention to detail for every aspect of design. From my hand-hammered copper shade to my sturdy base, every element reflects its dedication to quality and beauty. Interestingly, it serves as both a functional source of light and a cherished piece of art. The lamp is a timeless elegance of Dirk Van Erp's design philosophy. This is very desirable in this market. It's worth between $30,000 and $40,000.